That ache you carry, that profound sense of everything, it's not a flaw. There's a divine architecture, sir. Behind the depth of your feeling, a clear, intentional reason why the world's pain doesn't just pass you by, but settles deep within your spirit. You don't merely observe the struggle around you. You internalize it, processing the weight of human experience like a high-altitude filter. The emotions that crash over you aren't just personal moods. They are currents you carry, a sacred, unextinguishable flame. You've stood under the vastness of the sky, undoubtedly, and whispered a question that feels like a plea. Why me, God? Why this heart in this chaotic, often brutal world? This moment, this message reaching your screen, is no random scroll. You were called here because the very quality you've mistakenly labeled as your greatest vulnerability, your sensitivity, is in fact the undeniable seal of your election. God chose you not in spite of your gentle heart, but precisely because of it. He entrusted you with a capacity that defies human logic, the ability to pour out love when the natural reaction is to shut down, the resilience to remain unyieldingly kind when hostility seems to be the default setting, the courage to be a beacon in a generation consumed by its own shadows. Your gentleness is not the absence of strength. It is you, divine endurance, an inner fortitude clothed in soft humanity, a reflection of heaven breathing through your very existence. You are not one who shatters under pressure. You possess a unique spiritual flexibility. You bend us with the storm, allowing others a space of refuge and stability. You master the hardest spiritual discipline, forgiveness, even when the injury is fresh and agonizing. Your eyes are wired to detect beauty in landscapes where others only perceive desolation and wreckage. This deep, profound way of being isn't a deficiency. It's a masterpiece of divine engineering. Before you click away, before this conversation ends, you will fully grasp why the immense compassion you possess was never a burden, but a clear, unmistakable calling. A hidden purpose is embedded in the tears you've shed, an ancient mystery within your relentless empathy, and the moment it's revealed, essential truth will click into place in your soul. So commit to staying present. This revelation is the quiet answer your weary heart has been waiting for. I want to invite you to do 3 small symbolic things because this encounter is meant to be transformational, not trivial. If the words so far have stirred something true within your spirit, hit that like button right now. It's your immediate declaration of, I receive this truth. Secondly, please subscribe if you haven't yet, because messages like this aren't mere digital content. They are vital confirmations from a higher source meant to find you when you need them most. Finally, in the comments, type the number 9. This is a powerful prophetic symbol of divine completion, the end of doubt, and the dramatic start of a spiritual unveiling. Write it as a powerful personal declaration that this message found its mark at the precise moment it was needed. After today, the way you perceive the deepest part of yourself will be forever changed. To truly embrace your gentleness, you must first acknowledge the truth of your origin. You are not a spiritual accident, a random assembly of cells in the wrong era, the wrong location, or even the wrong physical form. Your presence here is not strategic. You are among the rare few that heaven intentionally placed into a world desperately suffering from emotional famine. You are a chosen vessel, but the choice wasn't about earthly fame, material prosperity, or flawless character. You were chosen because despite every attempt by the world to chip away at your core, something sacred within you refused to die. That unyielding compassion, that is your distinguishing mark. When others confront adversity, they often retreat into bitterness and spiritual rigidity. When you are wounded, you emerge wiser and more expansive. Others respond to injury by plotting retribution. You respond by seeking deeper understanding and grace. This isn't weakness. It is purposeful design. When the divine scans the earth for those trustworthy enough to carry light, it doesn't look for the most outwardly impressive or the most aggressively dominant. It looks for those who have managed to remain soft and pliable on the inside. Hearts that can still genuinely feel, souls that are still moved to action by the sight of injustice, people who are willing to shed tears when the hardened majority simply mocks the pain. The true mark of the chosen is not flawless execution. It is profound sensitivity. This quality is not coincidental. It is sacred, a frequency through which heaven recognizes its own reflection still burning brightly in a darkened world. Consider the great spiritual figures. David wasn't selected for his imposing stature or his family's high opinion of him. He was overlooked, tending to sheep, but while others were focused on status and crowns, he was silently cultivating his heart through poetry and worship in the solitude of the fields. That's what captured God's attention. Think of Moses, burdened by his speech impediment, or Peter, ruled by his volatile impulses. Look at Mary Magdalene, forever judged by her past, or Paul, whose early life was drenched in violence and hatred. Yet every single one of them possessed a trait that the divine could not resist, a heart that, despite being profoundly shattered, still radiated love and refused to turn to stone. This is the profound secret most people never uncover. Being chosen is not fundamentally about what you can offer to God in terms of talent or power. It is entirely about what God can accomplish through your availability and your open heart. Your gentleness transcends a mere personality preference. It is, in its purest form, spiritual technology. It is the unmistakable signal from heaven, declaring, "This soul can be trusted to carry my compassion into the center of chaos." When others instinctively destroy, you quietly, gently rebuild. When others hurl curses, you anchor yourself in prayer. When others flee in discomfort, you choose to remain present. And with every conscious choice of empathy over self-protection, you literally facilitate the expansion of the kingdom's territory through your life. This is why your personal battles often feel heavier and more intense than those of the average person. You were never meant to exist solely on the shallow surface of this world. Your true calling is to operate within its spiritual and emotional depth. But you must understand this crucial truth that few ever grasp. Being chosen inevitably comes with a cost. The greater the light you carry, the more shadows will attempt to envelop you. The deeper and more unconditional the love you offer, the fiercer the resistance you will encounter. Why? Because your gentleness acts as a mirror, powerfully as reflecting the hardness you allow in the hearts of others. And not everyone can tolerate that self-confrontation. People will inevitably misinterpret your softness as weakness, confuse your boundless mercy with foolish naivety. They will label you too emotional, too forgiving, or too nice. But you must hold fast to the divine truth. Heaven calls you mine. The very qualities others ridicule and mock are, ironically, the linchpins that prevent the world from completely descending into cold, spiritual apathy. You've surely noticed the internal struggle. No matter how many times you vow to emotionally close off, you find you simply cannot. No matter how many times you declare, "I am done caring," an intrinsic force within you compels you to reach out. That is the divine fingerprint. It is concrete evidence that your heart is not owned by the world's cynicism. It is owned by the sacred. You are deliberately wired differently, and every attempt you make to conform, to mirror the common coldness, results in a painful, visceral feeling of being a divine misfit, because souls chosen for this purpose were never intended to simply blend into the crowd. So, let this be your final moment of apology for your inherent sensitivity. Stop calling it a weakness that must be corrected. Stop subscribing to the lie that you must harden your emotional shell to survive the modern age. You are not here to reflect the brokenness of this world. You are here to mend it, to heal it. This is why your very presence possesses the power to subtly shift an atmosphere. This is why strangers and acquaintances alike spontaneously open up to you, often without understanding the mechanism. They instinctively sense the warmth and the unconditional light you carry. The world is spiritually starved, craving the genuine warmth that radiates from a heart that refuses to turn to stone. But here is the spiritual paradox that most never perceive. The same profound gentleness that makes you a carrier of the holy is also the very quality that makes you a target for spiritual opposition. The darkness fundamentally fears your tenderness because it can never, ever replicate it. It can mimic confidence, intellectualism, or even the spectacle of faith, but it cannot authentically generate that profound, resilient love. Only the divine source can produce that particular unshakable softness. And that is why your personal narrative is constantly under assault, because your inherent gentleness is a powerful silent force that exposes the fundamental weakness and emptiness of hell's methods. And yet there is an even deeper dimension to this reality. The reason your heart often feels burdened and heavy is because it is carrying a load that exceeds your own personal suffering. Chosen individuals are often emotional intercessors. You instinctively sense and absorb the collective weight of others without fully realizing it. You weep for people you've never met. You have prophetic dreams or unsettling feelings about events yet to materialize. You are essentially heaven's emotional radar, designed to register pain and necessity before the general population even recognizes the danger. This is not happenstance. This is a clear, divine assignment. So, pause and ask yourself a penetrating question. If your heart often feels impossibly fragile and unfit for this current world, could that be an indication that it was forged for a reality beyond this one? Could it be that your very spirit was created for something eternal, and you are simply passing through this earthly realm on a specific, temporary mission? The profound truth is this: God does not entrust such intensely gentle hearts to ordinary, casual souls. He bestows them upon warriors in profound disguise. These are the ones who engage in battle not with material weapons, but with the unarmed power of light. The ones who successfully disarm and dismantle evil through the radical force of compassion. This is the moment the true revelation begins. You are about to realize that what this world dismissively labels as soft is the identical potent force that heaven designates as sacred, unbreakable armor. Keep your focus here. The next segment will completely illuminate the divine voltage hidden within your gentleness and reveal why the forces of darkness tremble when you consistently refuse to harden your heart. Your gentleness is far from a weakness. It is pure, divine energy, masterfully contained within the profound humility of your spirit. It is not a passive state, nor is it fragile. It is, in fact, restrained power, the highest form of strength, the kind that doesn't need to dominate the room with noise or incite fear to command respect. When the world lashes out in fury, your profound, non-reactive calm becomes a perfect mirror, reflecting the world's own chaotic energy back onto itself. This is why your inner stillness often so deeply unsettles people. It serves as a stark, unavoidable reminder of the peace they have lost. Your gentleness is a form of spiritual warfare, skillfully disguised as serenity. It is heaven actively waging its deepest battles through the strategic application of kindness. When antagonists resort to cursing, your unwavering peace completely confuses their expectations. When they anticipate retaliation, your compassion abruptly breaks the cycle of aggression. Hell possesses a known playbook. It knows how to successfully fight anger with a heightened level of anger, but it possesses no weapon capable of countering genuine grace. The Holy Spirit rarely manifests through arrogant displays or loud pronouncements. It moves and operates through deep-seated restraint, through the soft, intentional voice that opts to whisper truth instead of screaming, through the steady, careful hand that consistently chooses mercy and understanding over sheer, self-serving might. When you consciously choose the path of gentleness, you are not retreating or yielding ground. You are stepping into absolute divine alignment. Your tone takes on the tone of heaven itself. Your profound patience becomes a powerful, silent sermon that requires no words. Your moments of strategic silence become a sharp spiritual sword that cuts through all the noise and distraction. Because gentleness is not inaction, it is the intentionality in its highest form. It is you, the chosen one, making the silent declaration, I fundamentally refuse to be dragged down into this chaos. I was sent here for the singular purpose of bringing the calm. Every single act of kindness you extend is far more than a simple moral gesture. It is a profound spiritual transaction. Every time you offer a calm smile instead of a sharp retort, you are actively releasing heaven's specific frequency into the atmosphere around you. Every time you offer comfort instead of condemnation, you are fundamentally shifting spiritual realities. Every gentle act you perform is a divine ripple that touches realms that remain invisible to the naked eye. What appears in the physical realm to be doing nothing is often a full-scale, successful invasion in the spiritual dimension. This is precisely why the enemy harbors a deep hatred for gentle hearts. Your pure, simple love possesses the power to burn him without fire, and your profound inner peace successfully destroys his influence without resorting to violence. Reflect on the ultimate example. When Jesus was surrounded by brutal violence and profound betrayal, he did not fight back with physical force. He instead absorbed the storm, and then miraculously converted that chaos into the ultimate act of redemption. His gentleness was never a state of submission. It was a catalyst for total transformation. The event of the cross was not a defeat. It was the single most powerful act of restraint and mercy in the entire history of the world. The world saw him as utterly powerless, yet within that profound, terrifying stillness, the entirety of hell was completely dismantled. That is the true, authentic face of gentleness, unshakable sovereign power, clothed in an absolute, impenetrable calm. And when that exact spirit resides and operates within you, your simple kindness becomes a formidable weapon that no spiritual adversary can ever replicate or defend against. Have you ever found yourself questioning why certain people immediately feel a sense of profound peace simply by being in your proximity? Why, even when you remain completely silent, your presence seems to actively lower the emotional temperature of an entire room? This is not a lucky coincidence. This is the unholy spirit actively radiating through your essential energy field. You are essentially heaven's tuning fork. Wherever you walk, spiritual frequencies are compelled to shift. Environments are forced to recalibrate to your inner state. Gentleness is not just a behavior. It is an atmosphere. You are the living carrier of the climate of the kingdom. This is why chaos and hostility constantly attempt to provoke you. They want to test if they can successfully pull you out of your divine-centered state. But when you flatly refuse to react, when you remain completely composed while everyone else collapses into panic, you are powerfully asserting dominion. You are reminding the darkness of who the true final authority is. And here is the critical secret the enemy is desperate to keep from you. Gentleness possesses innate creative power. Words that are carefully spoken from a gentle heart carry genuine life force within their sound. Your inner calm commands the created order to obediently conform to divine law. When you intentionally speak peace, storms are compelled to obey. When you choose to forgive, deep chains are instantly broken. When you love relentlessly through agonizing pain, heaven expands its active reach. The enemy's constant provocation is rooted in the knowledge that, if you stay gentle, you remain fully anointed. If you stay soft, you remain spiritually dangerous. Because only a heart that is truly calm is capable of hearing the clear, directive voice of God. So the next time the temptation to emotionally react flares up, anchor yourself in this truth. Gentleness is not a loss of control on your part. It is your deliberate, conscious choice to let God take full control. It is not a silence born out of fear or intimidation. It is a profound, authoritative silence born from a deep, unshakable faith. You have learned through experience that not every single battle is worthy of your full, roaring engagement. Sometimes the most resounding victory is achieved through quiet, consistent obedience. Sometimes the most powerful and transformative sermon is delivered simply through unwavering patience. But there is a layer to this that makes it even more spiritually mysterious. Gentleness is not a virtue that can ever be faked. The spiritual adversary can successfully mimic charisma, boastful confidence, and even perform the spectacle of miracles, but it can never, ever imitate true, authentic gentleness, because gentleness requires the constant indwelling presence of God Himself. It is the living, breathing proof that heaven is actively residing within your heart. This is why the scripture in Galatians 5:22 calls it a fruit of the Spirit, not a skill you laboriously acquire, but a divine nature that you fully receive. When authentic gentleness flows seamlessly through you, it is not simply you being nice. It is the very essence of Christ expressing himself through your beautiful, fragile humanity. And when that fusion happens, a supernatural ignition takes place. Suddenly, your quiet, thoughtful words begin to carry profound spiritual weight. Your prayers begin to successfully unlock hardened, resistant hearts. Your mere presence starts to miraculously heal deep wounds that you haven't even physically touched. Because the divine power that is concealed within gentleness is not ultimately about the things you do. It is entirely about the miraculous, profound person you become. You become a perfectly refined vessel through which heaven itself is given permission to breathe and operate. But you must remember, with every divine power comes a proportionate, fierce, divine opposition. The enemy will perpetually target the thing he fears most. And what he fears more than anything else is a soul that cannot be successfully provoked into irrational reaction. That is why your most difficult tests are specifically designed to make you lash out, to make you doubt your path, to lose your precious, centered peace. Because the moment your inner peace is gone, your spiritual power instantly follows. Do not be lured by the bait. Every single time you successfully maintain your calm under fire, you are single-handedly winning a spiritual war that the enemy is fundamentally incapable of even comprehending. So guard your gentleness with the vigilance of a warrior, like a sword that is expertly wrapped in silk. Because what the world perceives as mere softness is actually a sophisticated and spiritual strategy. What feels like restrictive restraint is actually a quiet, profound revolution. And the world is about to witness that the most powerful souls are never the ones who fight aggressively to be heard. They are the ones who simply carry the atmosphere of heaven wherever they are compelled to go. Now, pay very close attention because in this next vital segment, you will discover the essential truth of why God intentionally permits gentle hearts to walk through the most devastating spiritual and emotional storms, and how every single wound you have endured was, in secret, preparing and qualifying you to become an unstoppable, incandescent vessel of divine light. Let's be unequivocally honest. Being a person of pervasive kindness in a world that thrives on cynicism hurts deeply. You feel too much? You see the painful underbelly of life too clearly. You absorb the emotional shrapnel of others. Sometimes your very sensitivity feels like a cruel coin flip, both a profound blessing and a heavy curse. You navigate life with a heart that remains deliberately open, in a time when most people have carefully mastered the art of closure. And because of that terrifying vulnerability, you bleeds in places where others feel absolutely nothing at all. But hear me on this absolute truth. God did not grant you that spiritual depth of emotion as a form of torment. He gave it to you as a catalyst for your highest transformation. Every devastating heartbreak, every crushing disappointment, every moment when you whispered, "Why is this happening to me?" was never a punishment designed to break you. It was, without exception, preparation designed to expand you. Your heart was being systematically stretched and enlarged so that it could safely carry a volume of light, a magnitude of love, and a depth of divine understanding that the average, closed soul could never possibly comprehend. That is the fundamental reason why your life journey has never been simple or linear. Your sensitivity magnetically attracts pain because it instantly recognizes it, not for the purpose of drowning in its depths, but for the sacred purpose of redeeming it. You feel the inescapable suffering of others not because you are fundamentally weak, but because you were born to be a healer, sows of the deepest kind. The world, tragically, does not grasp this truth. It constantly urges you to toughen up, to stop caring so much about things that don't concern you. But the voice of heaven whispers, "Stay soft, even when the pain feels unbearable." Because a heart that manages to remain gentle and open in the relentless face of cruelty and widespread apathy is one of the most spiritually dangerous forces that exists against the power of darkness. When others abandon their faith and descend into doubt, your tears instantly transform into powerful, unspoken prayers. When others close and bolt their hearts for self-protection, yours becomes an unlocked doorway for grace to powerfully enter and move. Consider the nature of true strength. Gold is only rendered pure by the intense heat of the refining fire. Diamonds are only brought into existence and hardened under unimaginable, crushing pressure. So when your life feels as though it is actively burning or on the verge of total collapse, remember this essential principle. The pressure you feel is proof of your spiritual value. The breaking you experience is undeniable evidence of your vast spiritual capacity. God permits highly sensitive souls to face the harshest, most prolonged tests because they are, quite simply, the only ones uniquely capable of navigating them without utterly losing their essential sacred humanity and falling into bitterness. You must realize, warriors with hearts that have become hard can successfully fight and conquer battles, but only warriors who possess gentle hearts can win and heal souls. The physically strong can conquer territory, but only the truly sensitive can restore and mend what is broken. That is your non-negotiable mission, to intentionally bring the profound tenderness of heaven into the chaotic and hardened corners of this broken world. Every single betrayal you have endured has unknowingly carved a new, deeper layer of empathy into the very architecture of your being. Every time someone lied, abandoned, or profoundly misunderstood you, your spiritual sight was sharpened. You began to perceive people not based on their destructive actions, but based on the deep, unhealed wounds that motivated them. This is not a weakness. This is divine discernment. Operating at its highest level, the individuals who hurt you were, in a way they will never understand, unwittingly part of your divine training. They were the chisels in the hand of God, meticulously shaping your soul into a vessel that is unbreakable, yet utterly unbitter. He permitted the storms not to successfully destroy your core, but to awaken the specific kind of strength that can only be channeled through profound gentleness. You see, sensitivity is heaven's secret, sophisticated communication system. While others can successfully ignore the quiet, desperate cries of the world, you feel them reverberate deep within you. That is why you are incapable of simply walking past another person's evident pain and pretending it doesn't exist. That is why issues like injustice, cruelty, and hypocrisy disturb you on a level that most people never experience. You viscerally feel the vibration of what is profoundly wrong, because you were designed, at your deepest level, to be the instrument that restores what is right. The immense pain you so often absorb is never meant to become a permanent resident within your soul. It is intended to be immediately and powerfully converted into deep compassion, a concentrated, divine energy that actively heals through the words you choose, the actions you take, and the simple power of your presence. You are an emotional alchemist, mastering the divine art of turning suffering into boundless mercy. That is the reason why the attacks against you have always felt so intensely personal and specific. The adversary does not waste its resources on empty, insignificant vessels. It targets the ones who are overflowing with the oil of anointing, and you, chosen one, are saturated with it. Every betrayal was not just an attack. It was a powerful confirmation of your unique, high-stakes assignment. The enemy tries to relentlessly deceive you into believing that your profound pain is what ultimately disqualifies you. But in the divine economy, it is precisely what qualifies you. You have successfully navigated storms that would have permanently hardened the hearts of anyone else. Yet here you stand, still actively loving, still profoundly believing, still consciously choosing the path of light. That is not mere human endurance. That is divine resilience, a caliber of strength that only heaven can impart. And perhaps you've noticed this profound paradox. When you yourself are at your absolute lowest point, people seem to be drawn to you for comfort and guidance. Even when you are struggling just to breathe, you miraculously find the precise words to lift them out of their despair. That is not coincidence. That is the activation of your anointing. The chosen ones are, quite literally, heaven's first responders. When the general population panics, you anchor yourself in prayer. When others descend into hatred, you offer immediate forgiveness. When others retreat out of fear, you bravely step forward into the void. You were intentionally sent into the darkest, most broken places not to conform and fit in, but to illuminate the path out. That is why your heart so often feels heavy. It is carrying significantly more than just your own personal battles. You have been explicitly entrusted with the immense weight of other people's healing. You were meticulously built to feel things deeply because you were fundamentally built to restore things deeply. But here lies the final, most beautiful mystery. The very heart that feels so prone to breaking is also the exact heart that just recovers stronger, deeper, and wider with every single challenge. The more it is crushed and pressed, the more it expands its capacity to hold divine love. That is the central paradox of your divine design. Your gentleness was never intended to be a shield that perfectly protects you from all pain. It was designed with perfect intention to be the conduit that protects others through the refining fire of your pain. You are the sacred vessel through which the pure, healing light of heaven leaks into humanity. Every tear you have ever shed has silently watered someone else's miracle. Every time you decisively refuse to allow bitterness to take root, you successfully eye-shift something profound in the spiritual realm. You are not fragile. You are sacred and unbreakable, and your intense sensitivity is not a regrettable weakness. It is your most powerful, essential, spiritual radar. Your direct, constant connection point with the living heart of heaven itself. So the next time the doubt creeps in and you ask, "Why, God, do you allow me to feel this much?" internalize this profound truth. He trusts you with the capacity to feel his own divine emotions. That is why your empathy is so incredibly intense. You are feeling the heart of God pulsating through the vessel of your own. That is why your pain sometimes feels ancient and collective. It is not solely yours. You carry the silent generational cries of the world within your massive compassion. And yet, despite all of it, the pain, the betrayal, the constant opposition, you still possess the miraculous capacity to love, to forgive, and to hope. That chosen one is the single greatest miracle of all, that after everything you've endured, your heart still beats with a resonant softness. It still believes in the good. It still radiates the light. That is not merely human endurance. That is divinity actively living inside you. And as a final, powerful declaration that this message has found its home and ignited the truth within your soul, write in the comments right now, "My gentleness is my power." This sentence is not just a comment. It is a bot covenant and a final personal declaration that your profound softness is sacred and your immense compassion is your most formidable weapon.